First things first, when you're handling any kind of objections in the sales process or in a negotiation scenario, the first thing you want to do is you want to position yourself on the buyer's side. We've talked about that before. You can do that in multiple different ways, oftentimes even by literally stating that, hey, I'm on your side. I want to get this deal done. Nobody here benefits unless we get this deal done. So positioning yourself on the buyer's side. Number two is as it relates to concessions. So concessions meaning we're not talking about concessions like the concession stand, but concessions like you making a concession, you giving up something to get this deal done, right? As it relates to that, a lot of times it's not the size of what you give up, but it's the timing. There's a very important point that I want to make here. This is Pareto's law. Pareto's law is a big thing in business, right? Oftentimes 20% of the actions you take create and generate 80% of the results you get. So this applies to business. But how it applies here with concessions and in sales and in negotiations is oftentimes 80% of the actual negotiation or the concessions, you giving something up or getting something in return from your buyer, happens in the final 20% of the sales process. So I want you guys to all write that down. 80% of the concessions you make or the things you give up in a negotiation scenario, in a sales process, happens in the final 20% of the deal, right? So being aware of that, it's not really the size of what you're giving or what you're giving up, or, you know, if you're discounting your price, it's not the number that you're discounting, it's the timing. An additional note on that, 80% of it happens in the last 20% of the sales process. And above and beyond all of that, how you can start to close out the negotiation is by making the concessions smaller and smaller, by making what you give smaller and smaller. As an example, if I was to, if I'm selling a product or service, and if I was to give you a quote and discount the price $1,000, and then we couldn't agree on that, and I decided to discount another $500, and then we couldn't agree on that, what do you think the buyer is going to do? They just got $1,500 out of you. They're going to continue to move this, right? They're going to say, well, if you can move down another 300, we'll have a deal. It'll continue to look like that, right? But if I give you $1,000, which wouldn't happen initially, but let's just say for the sake of this example, if I do move the price $1,000 and ask for the sale and you still can't do it, the next thing I'll probably do is $50, something that's not even monetarily connected to the deal, but it's like, here's another goodwill, good faith action just to earn your business and get this done. The concession becomes much smaller, and that communicates what to your buyer? That there's not much more room to move. We're not doing this and moving forward and forward and forward and giving you more and more and more. This is pretty much the end of how much I'm willing to move on this. So that's what that means. Number two is it's not the size of the concession, but the timing of it. Making a small concession at the end of a negotiation allows for easy acceptance on the buyer's end. So it allows them to feel like they've also won, and this saves the buyer's ego, and it creates a win-win scenario. I know this was very multi-layered, but I think once you break it all down, you guys understand how that works.